Hello and welcome to another edition of Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman, and I'm joined by my usual cohorts, Uncle Joe McLaughlin and JP's first son, Tim Hoey. He should be joining us in any second. Well, Uncle Joe, we have
Where's the voice of reason tonight?
Yeah, Russ, unfortunately, the professor had a late notice that something he had to do late night. So it's just you and I, and then hopefully Timmy will join us. All right, going to be a great show tonight because, Joe, games may be happening soon. The Boston Red Sox apparently will start their season July 24th at Fenway Park for what it's worth against the Orioles. Are you excited to see baseball?
Yeah, I'm excited to see just about anything. We're still not optimistic about seeing any season through to the finish, to tell you the truth. But, I want to see them try. You can't get anything done until you start. And when the problems pop up, you handle them as they come.
Yeah.
You can't do it any other way. You can't just throw up your hands and say, we can't do this.
Well, Major League Baseball, I mean, the players and the staff have done pretty well. Apparently, about 1.5% of the people tested, the players and the staff tested positive for COVID, which is a lot less than the national average, which right now is about 6%. So I feel like if they get into the season without too many star players having to be taken out because of COVID, once they get into the season where players get hurt, Joe, and stuff, we'll come to grips a little bit more with the fact that somebody's out because of COVID during the season, as opposed to right now. Would you agree?
Yeah, and only a handful have taken the David Price route, not coming at all. Right. I mean, of all the major league players, it's a fraction of 1%.
Yeah, and
almost everyone's given it a shot.
David Price can do that because he can afford to do this.
He gets paid $33 million a year. He's got a lot of banks,
Yeah, he's made probably over $100 million in his career. He's due for the next couple of years more money. I can look. It's a personal decision. If he doesn't want to go to work right now, you have to understand it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm fine with it. As long as the poor Dodgers, that deal looks worse and worse by the day, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah. Oh,
not that we got anything in return, but we did get rid of Price's contract. That's a big deal.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's halved. I think we take half of it, but the Red Sox saved a ton of money by Price opting out. And look, we got 3 prospects. We'll see whether they turn out to be anything of
the last time they gave us 3 prospects for Crawford and company there, all 3 of them were dogs.
No, this is a lot. These guys are a lot better level. Verdugo has some level of major league experience that is proven. I would say, if I was guessing, that Verdugo ends up being, if he stays healthy, being an Andrew Benintendi. Do you see that comparison?
The way that his teammates talk about him, he'll have more power than Benintendi. Benintendi just never grew into his power. In fact, he seems to have shrunk.
Yeah, well, he's not a big guy, Benintendi. Benintendi, as you've always
said, he would where he was young, he would fill out, but he never did.
Yeah, well, he's got a good uppercut swing, and you thought there'd be more power. I just think Benintendi really is a high-quality 4th outfielder.
Yes, exactly. And the slugger on the team will have to be Devers.
Yeah, right.
Devers will fill that role eventually.
Okay, if we're going to do it in David Price, we're not always going to go the subject. David Price or Gordon Hayward, they are the 2 highest paid professional athletes in the history of Boston sports.
But at least you got something out of David Price. In 3 years and $100 million, you've got nothing from Grandpa Gordon except screw the team up. Jaylen Brown can't play his natural position because Gordon Hayward can't play anything but the 3. He's so limited.
Joe,
can't play defense, can't rebound.
David Price was whiny. There's no question.
I agree.
But David Price contributed. He helped a last place team his first year there become a first place team.
And helped win a World Championship.
Helped win a World Championship. And then against the Astros, he was the best pitcher. Remember, he pitched in relief. He was the best pitcher, willing to take the ball every game. This guy has been all we could have asked for David Price. Gave up no players. Gordon Hayward has been a complete bust, and every Boston fan will tell you they will defend Gordon Hayward to their dying breath, and they will rip into David Price.
Well, I know. If Russ was here, he'd be running the Gordon Hayward flag up the pole right now.
No. Russ is starting to come to my way as far as Gordon Hayward too. But Boston media and 99% of Boston fans defend Gordon Hayward.
He's been the biggest bust since Trevor Maddox for Jerry Rice.
Absolutely, he really is. But that's just your and my opinion. But would you agree that most Boston fans would disagree with you?
Oh no, I agree there. Most people seem to give him as much slack as he wants. He could be an eighth, ninth guy on the team, on the bench, and they'll still say he's a contributor for $34 million.
It's unbelievable. All right, so in typical Yankee fashion, somehow I know the home field advantage won't mean as much this year, obviously, but somehow the Yankees got 7 games at home against the Red Sox, and the Red Sox got 3.
Well, this season will have an asterisk after it, no matter what. Anyways, if the Yankees win, we can always say, "Oh yeah, you won in that 40 year, the COVID year."
It's a complete phony year, and I still think there's a 20% chance that they finish from A to Z this season. I don't see it happening. I wanted to, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I'm not optimistic either. There's so many things that can crop up in the course of events. Like you say, so many moving parts.
Yeah.
But they have to go ahead and deal with things as they come. If the Brooklyn Nets can't field, a team, hey, let them grab some guys from the D League and,
Yeah, when you're talking about certain teams, you're right, like the Brooklyn Nets, who aren't going to compete for a title anyways. They're just fodder. They're just the Washington Generals at this point. It's an administrative thing. Somebody's got to play the team, so we can move forward.
They had to put them in there so they could get Zion Williamson into the mix.
Yeah, that's exactly right. All right, so looking at the baseball season, what seems like a ridiculous idea at this point is having games go 9 innings. It just seems laborious.
Yeah, I thought they had that 7 inning thing all set up, at the start of this.
But
when they were going to be having more and more games.
Yeah, they're doing 9 innings. It just, again, even though we've been cooped up inside, the last thing anybody's going to still do at this point is watch a 3.5-hour game with nobody in the crowd.
Yeah, and it'll just be taxing on those rosters too. If you're missing 3, 4, 5 players due to quarantine issues, you're going to need, you're going to be running out of bullpen. 7 innings will be enough.
Yeah, and needless to say, it's really it's like exhibition play at this point, where all of a sudden you're going to see a lot of guys number 98 and 79 pitching and playing the field that you and I don't even know.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be, glorified exhibition for at least the first couple of weeks. Yeah. Same thing with the NBA, the NHL. Football's not even, the regular season is going to be preseason.
Yeah. All right, so we go to the Patriots, and still excited about Cam Newton, of course. After a week, do you feel better about the move? What do you think?
Well, I think it's going to be very problematic. There's no way they can install an offense for Cam, because he's not going to run the same Tom Brady offense. Maybe Jarrett Stidham can run that part, but they're going to have to install a new offense just for Cam. He'll be probably limited to, say, a 20-play thing that they get, because they got no preseason games to practice. It'll just be, in practice itself and in walkthroughs. So there'll be very few reps. So they're going to have a very limited playlist for Cam at first anyways, for at least the first 8 games.
So the pressure is on Josh McDaniels, right?
Oh, definitely.
You start to see more, not what kind of coach Bill Belichick would have been without Tom Brady, but what kind of coach is Josh McDaniels.
That's why, I'm more inclined to see, them really starting with Stidham and being able to throw the knuckleball at another team and throw Cam in there for a series or two with his 20-play repertoire, and they won't have time to prepare for it.
I don't see that. No, no way. It's got to be the other way around. You said that last week. It's Cam Newton starts. Cam Newton is starting over Jared Stidham, Joe. There's not a question.
I don't see it as a point where one's doing bad in a game and you put the other in. I think it being pre-game planned as to when the other one's going to go in.
I don't know. Look, I'm not giving Jared Stidham any love until, even at the very least, if we see
you see it.
Yeah, until I see it right in the regular season.
Yeah.
Come on.
You're not going to see a preseason. It looks like they're not even going to play the preseason. The owners will really start crying then. They're already trying to take money back that isn't theirs.
I know, what, 35% in escrow, is that right? Yeah,
no, that's not your money. You know, if they want to bargain with, say, the players don't want to play any preseason games, right? Because of the chance of injury and everything.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But that's where the owners make a lot. All that money goes to the owners. The players don't share in any of that money. The radio rights, the TV rights, the admissions to the preseason games, any sales, any concessions, any parking. Players don't share a nickel of that. So the players don't give a rat's ass about those preseason games, but the owners do.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, speaking of that, the Patriots, who've been ripping fans off for the last 50 years for parking. Remember when they used to have that terrible lot, an old Schaefer,
Eddie Andelman's
right?
track lot?
You lose tires in that freaking thing. They charge.
That was because everyone used to have charcoal grills. Remember? Then they dump them over the hot coals and melt right through the asphalt, leave a big big pothole.
I can still remember that place, the way it used to be situated. So they're not going to charge parking. Of the ironies of all ironies, they shouldn't have been charging.
That, and they should allow more people to park in the preferred. I've parked in the preferred, and thousands of spaces go begging there.
Yeah, and it has a separate entrance too.
Yeah. You go right out to Route 1.
Yeah, I used to. Yeah,
right out to 495, basically. Right to 495.
Oh yeah, you coast. Yeah, you just. Yeah, I mean, it's a completely different experience, and that experience should be for everyone.
Yeah, well, they should at least allow another 500 or 600 cars.
Absolutely. So Patrick Mahomes. Now, we had Lee Steinberg on, the sports agent, a few years ago, and he was kind of making his career a second career after having alcohol dependency, and he's making a great comeback for himself. He used to be a big time.
Quite a comeback. $500 million.
So his big client was picking up Patrick Mahomes a few years ago, and $500 million contract. Now, just so you know, I love that stuff. Sports agents in the NFL, the maximum they can receive is 3%. It's capped out. So if you're doing Lee Steinberg's math, he just made $15 million.
But what they make from the endorsement contracts they negotiate is not capped.
Yeah, no, right.
I'm sure Patrick Mahomes makes a good buck on endorsements, even out of Kansas City.
So Tommy Boy always thinks it's always about him. He's probably whining to Giselle or whatever girl that he has in the house about how he should have been getting that kind of money all these years.
Oh yeah, and why no one's buying his Tampa Bay shirts.
I know. That's what it ends up. Nobody loves Big Papi like
Tampa Brady. Sure.
Like 6 months after Big Papi finished his career, he was on Facebook trying to sell 2-for-1 T-shirts. That's what he had become.
Yeah. What have you done for me lately? It's really simple as that.
It really does. Look, that was the whole idea of why Tom reacted the way he did, because the moment Cam Newton became a Patriot, Tom Brady was in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, and when you're not in, look at poor. Have you seen poor Joe Namath? No one was more famous other than Muhammad Ali back in the day. Joe Namath's doing like welfare commercials now.
I know he is, right? I know. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Joe Namath did a commercial with Farrah Fawcett. You can't get any better than that, right?
Yeah, like creamy.
Yeah, that's right. All right, boys. Joe, Celtics, they start against the Bucks July 31st. Very interesting. They're all heading toward Orlando right now as the host city. Florida's just, the pandemic has gone crazy there. Probably, upon reflection, was probably a bad place for them to land.
Yeah, and those guys aren't going to be making their own beds. The housekeepers are going to be coming and going. They're not in the bubble.
Yeah.
All the staff, the pool cleaners, all those guys don't stay in the bubble. They come and go.
And
they'll be bringing the pandemic in with them.
The paid escorts that will come at night.
Oh yeah, I think they'll probably keep it. They'll probably have their temperature taken before they come in. Yeah.
Not their temperature taken when they leave.
maybe ask that list of questions that you get everywhere you go now.
Yeah, right. All right, so go to the oh no, this is a question I wanted to ask you. So we're talking about star power now that Cam Newton has come. And Cam Newton is a big name. Yeah. Would you call him a star, right? So what do we have for stars in Boston sports right now? For the Patriots, we'll give Cam Newton's a big star, right?
Julian Edelman.
Yeah. So you'd put Edelman as a national star, absolutely. I would.
Yes, he is. He's a national star.
All right. So is there a third?
No other national stars.
Gilmore. Gilmore's not a national star.
No. He doesn't move the needle. In fact, the McCourties get more interviews. Well, Devin gets more interviews nationally than the rest of the defense put together, I think.
Right. So yeah. So that's our two stars for the Patriots would be Cam Newton and Edelman.
Edelman, yeah, both offensive players, which is pretty par for the course with most teams. There'll be offensive stars because that doubles with fantasy football fans too. Along with the football fans.
Okay, so Bruins, of course, obviously Bruins. In the hockey world, we have to do famous in the hockey world when it comes to hockey because it's not really a national sport as far as the consciousness of it. Obviously, Pastrnak is a big star.
And Marchand, national and internationally. Locally, I still think it's Bergeron and Chara. Even casual people, know of Bergeron and Chara, whereas they might not know Pastrnak.
I just think that, no, but I'm talking about even performance in the field, on the ice. Is Chara considered that, or is he really? He's obviously not the player he used to be.
But he's got the Q factor around in the Boston area because he's got the longevity in the area and the visibility in the Boston area.
Okay, so we'll give three of them. All right, all three. All right, that's good. All right, Celtics. Jason Tatum
is the national star.
Absolutely, and
Jaylen Brown's been getting a ton of love. Nationally.
Okay, wait. So, all right, I was going to say Kemba definitely, right?
No. Jaylen Brown way over Kemba.
You don't think Kemba's a star nationally?
Not nationally, no.
He was a huge star at UConn. I know, obviously, he's been buried in Charlotte, but still.
But all the big wigs and all the national shows have been saluting Jaylen Brown as the leader of the NBA in this Black Lives Matter meeting.
Right. No. I definitely. Jaylen Brown. I just think on the court, he's just not a big star yet.
And no, he's not. And KG says Jaylen Brown is the leader of the Celtics now.
Okay, so you're going to say, all right. So Tatum for sure
is the best player.
And you say Brown, and I'm going to, and you don't say Kemba Walker. I'm going to say Kemba Walker.
Kemba Walker hasn't even played much this year. He's been out hurt.
No, he made.
I don't know if he's still hurt.
Joe, I have to be honest with you. After the last 4 months, I don't even remember that 60-game season. Really, doesn't it seem like it was 50 years ago?
It's another lifetime almost. It was another world. We lived in a different world then. But Grandpa Gordon was at least filling a role on that team then. Wasn't anywhere near a star, more like a six-man type guy. Who gets a lot of love nationally now that I think about it? Marcus Smart.
No, he does.
Everywhere you go, no one puts him on their top 50 players in the NBA, but everyone that wants to start a team says, I want Marcus Smart on my team. It'll be one of the first 3 players they take.
I know you're right. Every article will list him as an underrated, undervalued player. But if everybody keeps on listing him, he's definitely not underrated or undervalued because all he's done is being discussed.
Anytime you hear a player being interviewed and they ask him, is there anyone on any other team you'd like to have on your team? They always say Marcus Smart. Of all the players in the NBA, they always say, oh, we want Marcus Smart. We want a Marcus Smart on our team.
Yeah, we have to hand it to Danny again by not trading. We call him Trader Danny, when we know that's not the case. He hardly ever makes trades in the last few years. But by keeping Marcus Smart, when the rest of us always had him.
I'm guilty.
Yeah,
I wanted to trade him.
Yeah, we've had him. But he's grown up in the last year and a half.
Yeah, and his passing has been phenomenal this last year. It was like he had, it was magic that he could put it in anyone's hands for an easy bucket, it seemed like.
Yeah, he's
made Daniel Tice look like an offensive superstar.
So he basically hit rock bottom when he was in that California hotel beating the crap out of picture frames.
Remember, that was the night all he needed was a 2 and he stepped back behind a 3 and blew the game.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but that was I think that was kind of his moment, right? And it seems like he's behaved ever since.
Oh yeah, he's been top of the game ever since. What's that? It's been 2 seasons now.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Red Sox. We lost the biggest star, other than Brady. Mookie Betts with the biggest star in this town. Would you say?
Well, maybe Rafael Devers in the future. Who do you think will be? Who do you think? Xander's the biggest star on the team now.
Is Xander?
Xander is the biggest team on the star, but he's too low key. He's too low key.
In the baseball world, I think, but a star is in the baseball world.
Yeah, and in the cognoscenti of the baseball fans, everyone likes Xander, but the casual fan and the Pink Cats, Xander really doesn't. He's not that. He's not that big a star.
Which is just remarkable. But first of all, this is a guy that also has 2 World Series rings. People forget that he came up as a rookie in 2013. Xander, to me,
consistent 300 hitter, 20 home runs,
big power guy, great personality. I mean, yeah, he's not a big talker or anything, but I think the guy lights up a room whenever he's in it.
Hey, he speaks English fine too. It's not like he has a language difficulty. But who do you think will be? I know it's a pretty slim hand we're being dealt here, but who do you think will be the best starting pitcher this year?
For the Red Sox? Well, I think it has to be Erod. I mean, you're going to go anywhere. If you're going to get through the 9 innings, at some point, I mean, they're going to have to call the games. Erod, look, until Nathan Ivaldi can show that he can stay healthy.
Well, that's where I'm going. This is his kind of season, 60 games.
Yeah. Right.
He's never made it through 162, but maybe a 60-game season, this might be right up his alley.
He's the kind of guy that you talk about as far as coaching goes. Can you feel like there's got to be one pitching coach whisperer that might be able to get to him because he has a fantastic arm, but he's just a thrower.
Oh, yeah, and he always has been. And there's times when he's throwing 100, he's throwing straight as an arrow, and they just time him and tee off on him. But, he can pitch too, as we've seen. It just, you got to get to him.
But, I mean, we talked about this when there wasn't a pandemic and there wasn't going to be a potential 60-game season if they even get that. The Boston Red Sox were going to be a really poor team this year in the 162 games.
Yeah, they really lucked out because this was going to be the bridge year of bridge years. Yeah. They really looked, third place would have been a good finish, I thought.
Yeah, it's not out of the look in 2016 16, they finished 15, they finished last place. This felt like a last place team. I know the Orioles are terrible, but you would assume at some point the Orioles, with all these top picks, would get better. Red Sox could have ended up winning 65 games.
They could have had a really, really bad year. But things are looking up because they'll have more flexibility with, money come next year. And let's see what this new guy can do about putting together a pitching staff. Because he's going to have to reconstruct one.
Joe, you're going to see games that are going to be longer than they have been in the last few years because a team like the Red Sox are going to be carting out relief pitchers.
Oh, eight, 9 pitches like Tampa was doing there with Cash. He was just having bullpen games. Every 4th and 5th game were bullpen games. And they might be, and that was when Heim was down there. So he might be trying to get them to do the same thing.
That's going to be really tough to watch.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing worse than having to watch that guy come in from the bullpen, take forever, get some warm-up courses. Oh, it's just one of the worst things in baseball.
So the Red Sox, when we were growing up, the Red Sox started the night games at 7:30. But the reason they did that was that those games ended no later than 10 o'clock. And then we could buzz down Route 93 and be home in half an hour. Now the Red Sox, they went to 7:10. Now, inexplicably, they're going back to 7:30. Can you please?
NESN has lost a lot of revenue this year. The closer to prime time, the more the commercials cost. That gives them more revenue. They got to make up for, losing 50 games.
Joe, will you watch the Red Sox play?
I never watch it. I usually have the game on in the background. If something happens, they're going to show it 2 or 3 times anyway, so you don't miss anything. It's on in the background, that kind of thing. And I'm, on the computer or something else, or doing something else. But, I'm within earshot. So if anyone steals a base, I can go watch and, see the replay 3-4 times.
But for cities like the New York and LA, who thought they could win a World Series this year, this is really a disappointment no matter what. But for cities like the Red Sox, who we had our dream season a couple of years ago, we weren't winning anything this year. It's kind of like playing with the house's money.
Yeah, even if you win this year, if the Yankees or the Dodgers, especially the Dodgers, they win this one, it's kind of like a hollow victory. They've been trying and trying and trying, and the only one they get is like this losers cup of a championship.
They wouldn't be able to have a parade.
Oh, that's right. Have to have a virtual parade.
Yeah, this is a crazy season. It just, like you said, it just feels like they're trying to fill in the blanks so they can get the TV money.
Yeah, that's all it is. That's what it is with the NBA. They've all played 62, but they don't get the full TV money unless they play 70. Guess what? How many games they're playing in this prelim? 8 to make it to 70. Then they do the playoffs.
So
the NFL, they're going to put these games on just to get the TV money because that's pays for everything for the owners. That pays for everything, lock, stock, and barrel.
Well, the sport that's been very quiet has been the NHL. They've just been going about their business, and they're going to have with the 2 cities, Edmonton and Toronto, right?
Yep.
And that's what they're going to play. They're going to play later in the month. It just feels to me that they're going to be the ones that have the highest probability of finishing the season in the playoffs.
Yeah, but a hockey locker room could really get devastated if they apply the rules. And Canada's been pretty strict up there. Yeah, I know they're allowing the Americans to come in without a quarantine and everything. But for the most part, Trudeau's have been running a tight ship up there in the city.
Yeah, their numbers are down. Yeah. Well, Joe, seeing that our numbers are the highest that they've been since the pandemic as of yesterday, United States is not handling this well at all.
No, it's just certain parts of the country that have, the parts of the country where the weather warms up first and people started going out, California, Florida, Georgia, Texas, are still in the midst of the worst of it.
Yeah.
And up here in the northern tier, you don't see much at all. Things have gone down rather than go.
It's done very well, and Massachusetts continues. They should have made a host city, one of the host cities, Boston.
Oh, I agree. I agree. They have the practice facilities all around for all these teams, the hotels for all these teams, and a couple of big venues.
Yeah.
They could play at BU, they could play at BC, they could play at the Garden. There's a number of venues they could play at.
Absolutely, a complete fail. But I think that NHL didn't realize that Massachusetts was going to do this well, or they might have considered it. But it was too late in the game. All right. Well, I want to thank, of course, Joe. That was a great show, Joe. We missed Timmy and Russ. Yeah, and thank you for Corbin, of course, behind the scenes. Please check us out on our website at thegrandstanders.com and tune in again next Wednesday night at 6:30 for another edition of Grandstanders Live. We're going to have Brookline State Rep Tommy Vitolo is going to come and talk sports with us. That should be fun. My name is Scott Kerman. Have a great and happy night.